This December, Netflix is cooking up a buffet with a little something for everyone, with both exciting originals and new blockbusters like Avengers: Infinity War. And that's just the beginning. Here's a quick look at everything good coming to Netflix in December 2018. Andy Serkis made a name for himself as the motion capture juggernaut behind Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, and he's gone on to parlay that particular skill into a long run behind the camera and special effects of some of the biggest blockbusters of the era. With Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, Serkis will again be heard and not seen as both the director and the voice of Baloo. This gritty origin story sees the Jungle Boy Mowgli on a quest to discover who he really is. Along the way, he'll face down not only the vicious Shere Khan, but also perhaps the greatest threat of all: humans! Look for it on December 7th. On-screen gangster tales have ranged in locale from Old World Sicily to early 20th century London to that most terrifying location of all, modern-day New Jersey. But what about Canada, eh? Well, good news. Bad Blood is storming the streets of Montreal with a gritty dramatization of real-life crime boss Vito Rizzuto. After spending years in prison watching his hard-won empire fall to pieces before his eyes, Rizzuto gets released and sets out to retake his territory and exact revenge on the competing gangs who killed his son and father. Check it out when the first season premieres on December 7th. Espionage and political intrigue are the names of the game in this Australian series that follows a small group of spies working in the secretive Central Australian base Pine Gap, a real location. Pine Gap weaves actual events into fictional narrative, blurring the line between high-stakes drama and real-life consequences. Although the series already aired in Australia starting in October 2018, Pine Gap is set to hit Netflix globally on December 7th, with a first season run of 6 episodes. Don't miss it. Netflix's musical documentary series ReMastered is tuning up for its 3rd entry, and if it's anything like the first 2, it's bound to hit all the right notes. In Who Killed Jam Master Jay, audiences will get an in-depth look at the circumstances surrounding the unsolved shooting that took the life of the iconic hip-hop DJ in 2007. Take a look when ReMastered Who Killed Jam Master Jay drops on December 7th. There's a lot to love in this high-stakes Australian series, which follows 2 strangers who accidentally wind up in the middle of a criminal conspiracy and find themselves on the run from both the police and the bad guys. Wanted packs its airtime with comedy, action, and drama and leaves you hungry for more every time the credits roll. And with only 6 episodes in each of the first 2 seasons and 4 in the upcoming 3rd season, you can be sure that not a minute goes to waste. You can still catch up on the first 2 seasons before the 3rd season shows up on December 13th. If you haven't clocked in for Cuckoo yet, now's a good time to start. The show centers on a proper British couple whose daughter just spent a year abroad. When they pick her up from the airport, they're dismayed to find that she's returned with her lover, a slacker hippie played by Adam Sandberg.
Well, here he is.
Sorry? It's an honor, Ken. Just a great honor.
After the first season, however, Sandberg left for other projects and was replaced by American Werewolf in London, Taylor Lautner, for the rest of the series. Somehow, it all ended up working, and you can check out the 4th season on December 14th.
Soon your body will be butchered by extraterrestrial lasers, but our souls shall remain together through Cuckoo.
With Narcos, Netflix enthralled the world with the story of DEA agent Steve Murphy and his partner Javier Peña as they work to bring down the notorious Pablo Escobar. Now, Netflix is putting their true crime touch on the tale with Inside the Real Narcos. As the name suggests, the docu-series will delve into the real-life stories of drug cartels in Latin America, told through interviews with real criminals. It's sure to be an engaging experience, and you can get your fix when Inside the Real Narcos drops on December 14th. English comedian Jimmy Carr hosts his upcoming comedy panel show, which sees a group of comedians sitting down to solve some of the social problems plaguing the world. Each episode will see a different panel of comedians tackling a different issue, lending their trademark wit to possible solutions. Effective? Probably not, but it should be good for a laugh, at the very least. Tune in for the fix on December 14th. Novelist John Grisham carved out a career with his numerous best-selling courtroom thrillers, many of which have in turn been adapted into blockbuster films. He sold more books about judges than the guy who wrote the Book of Judges. With his 2006 book, The Innocent Man, however, Grisham took his time-tested formula and turned it on its head, writing a true crime account instead of fiction. The Netflix adaptation will feature John Grisham and will dig into the case through a series of interviews with people who are involved in the case. Look for it on December 14th. Clearly, Netflix has been down under to pick up a ton of Australian series, but their upcoming fantasy thriller Tidelands marks the streamer's first true Australian original show. Tidelands centers on a criminal who heads home to a small village on the Australian coast in pursuit of a quiet life, but she soon finds that the town is secretly home to a group of supernatural beings called Tidelanders. Dive in on December 14th. Netflix hasn't been shy about showing off their upcoming thriller, Bird Box, and for good reason. Based on the 2014 book of the same name, Bird Box stars Sandra Bullock as Mallory, a new mother whose world is turned topsy-turvy when people begin taking their own lives in bizarre ways. It turns out there's some kind of sinister force at work. Once you see it, you're driven to madness. Madness! With a premiere date of December 21st, Bird Box's dark vision of the future will be here just in time for Christmas. Happy holidays!
Please don't take my children!
Netflix's original stand-up releases for December will be arriving in two parts. The first, Viadar's Losing It, debuts on the 11th and marks the Indian comedian's second special on the service. Dars told Gulf News that the new special will touch on global events as well as his personal life. The second stand-up special this month sees talk show host Ellen DeGeneres taking to the stage for the first time in 15 years with a comedy set called Relatable. Take a look when it drops on the 18th. The holidays are arriving with a bang this year, as Netflix introduces a handful of high-octane action movies. November, sadly, saw the removal of Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, but December 1st sees its predecessor, 2004's Hellboy, showing up. Also on the 1st, look out for Terminator Salvation and the 1985 martial arts flick, The Last Dragon. On Christmas Day, unwrap Avengers Infinity War, the first part of Marvel's epic Phase 3 culmination that has the scrappy Avengers taking on the big bad Titan Thanos. You'll also find a brand new selection of dramatic films landing this month, such as 8 Mile, Meet Joe Black, and 7 Pounds, all of which arrive on the 1st. After that, the 16th offers the chance to check out Eddie Redmayne. Before he was Newt Scamander in The Theory of Everything, Redmayne stars as Stephen Hawking in this hard-hitting biopic about the acclaimed physicist's early years and his struggles to cope with his gradual onset of Lou Gehrig's disease. There's an electric mix of comedies hitting Netflix this December, but they all have one thing in common: they're hilarious.
What's the matter, David? I'm taking a shortcut before.
The Friday trilogy hits Netflix on the 1st, alongside Shaun of the Dead, The Big Lebowski, and the Bill Murray-led spy spoof, The Man Who Knew Too Little. Finally, 'tis the season for blood and mayhem this Christmas. The first of the month sees the arrival of 1998's Bride of Chucky, John Carpenter's 1983 adaptation of Stephen King's Christine, and My Bloody Valentine, that cheesy 3D slasher from 2009 about people throwing pickaxes at you. It'll be easier than ever to binge brand new shows in the coming month. On the 3rd, dive into Blue Planet 2, the follow-up to the BBC's critically acclaimed nature series. The 6th of the month sees the addition of the first season of Happy, an offbeat sci-fi series about a mentally imbalanced hitman who becomes friends with his daughter's imaginary unicorn. Based on the graphic novel by Grant Morrison and Derek Robertson, Happy is a visual treat for anyone looking for a different sort of comic book hero.